You know, sometimes you spend so long walking around looking at foundations, checking for cracks, feeling for soft spots in the drywall, that you forget to check your own house. You see the rot in other people's structures every day, but you never think it could be hiding behind your own front door. My wife, Melissa, she asked for the divorce. Just like that. And through the lawyer, Henry, the message came back. She wanted everything. Everything except our daughter, Lily. I remember looking at Henry, just sitting there across the desk, and I remember the silence that followed when I told him, give it to her. Everything. The room went quiet. People thought I'd finally broken. Maybe I looked broken. But you have to understand why I said that. You have to know what I found before you decide if I was a fool or not. My name is Daniel. I'm 54, and I'm a building inspector. My entire life is about spotting hidden failures. I go into places that look perfect, fresh paint, brand new carpets, and I find the slow corrosion underneath. The wiring that's going to burn the place down in 5 years. The structural beam that's been weakened by a slow leak. You learn to document, you measure, you trace the problem back to its source before you swing a hammer. I never thought that discipline would be required for my own marriage of 22 years. Melissa and I, we had Lily, who was 16 and sharp as a tack. Things were fine. Stable. Melissa worked part-time at a dentist's office. Then, about 10 months before everything blew up, she got this idea. Home staging. She needed a project, something of her own. I cheered her on. I helped set up the business, co-signed a credit card, even fronted her some of our savings for the inventory. I thought it was good for her. Turns out, I was just funding the getaway vehicle. The first sign was small. A Wednesday night, around 2 a.m. I woke up, heard movement downstairs. I thought maybe Lily needed something, but it was Melissa in the kitchen, bathed in the blue glow of her phone. She was smiling, a genuine, wide smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. When she saw me, she slammed the phone face down. Too fast. She mumbled something about an overseas client having trouble. I went back upstairs, but that smile, it just didn't fit. The next morning, she was in the shower, and her phone was on the counter. I know, I'm not proud of invading that privacy, but the inspection had already started in my head. The messages were open. I saw things like, can't wait until the dead weight is gone. And another one, the new staging setup is incredible. I didn't confront her. That's the difference between inspecting a building and dealing with a human being. You don't start smashing walls. You start documenting. Over the next few weeks, things started disappearing. A throw blanket my mother gave us. A chair from the dining room. Melissa would say, "Oh, it's out on a staging job, I'll bring it back next week." But they never came back. Then the big things went. Our coffee table. The hallway bookshelf. One Saturday, I come home from inspecting a site downtown, and the living room couch is gone. Replaced by this terrible, cheap, beige sectional that looked like it belonged in a motel lobby. Lily walked in right behind me, saw it, and just stopped dead. She looked at me with this exhaustion that killed me, and she just said, "So the couch died, I guess?" Melissa came down, phone in hand, and said the old one was out staging and this was just a temporary loaner. Lily just looked at her, no fight, no argument, and went upstairs. That's when I knew Lily didn't buy it either. The house was turning into a showroom, not a home. But I still kept quiet. I kept watching. Then, about 2 weeks later, Lily came into my home office, acting totally wired. She turned her laptop screen toward me. "Dad, I found something weird on Facebook Marketplace." She showed me listings. Our furniture. Listed under a fake name, Jennifer Callahan. The photos were clearly taken in our house. There was the throw blanket, listed as gently used. Lily looked up at me, nervous, and asked if I knew. I told her no. She asked if she should confront her mom. I told her no. Let me handle it. I took screenshots. I built a file. This wasn't staging. This was liquidation. She was selling us off, piece by piece, hiding it in plain sight. Then came the real structural failure. A statement from the 529 plan for Lily's college fund. $8,000 withdrawn. I called the company. Authorized by the joint holder, Melissa Bowen, 3 weeks prior. That money was untouchable. It was for Lily's future. When Melissa got home that night, I asked her calmly. I said I saw the statement. She didn't even blink. Said she needed it for the business, that it was our money anyway. I told her it was Lily's. She said, "Kids figure it out. Student loans exist. You're being dramatic." I just nodded. I didn't argue. Because right then, I understood, she wasn't building a business. She was building an exit, and she didn't care who she dragged down. So, I started tracking everything. Every transaction, every receipt for the missing furniture, every expense that made no sense for a tiny staging operation. I made spreadsheets. I documented the slow leak. And then I found it, a charge for a storage unit in an industrial park. $180 a month. I didn't ask her about it. I just added it to the file. I knew what was coming. The danger isn't the earthquake, it's the hairline crack you ignore for years. Melissa was counting on me not noticing the details. For the next 6 weeks, I lived like I was on the most crucial inspection of my career. My home office looked like evidence headquarters. Yellow highlighters on bank statements. Red circles on credit card bills. Photos of every missing item, time-stamped. I tracked that storage unit meticulously. Melissa thought I was buried in zoning violations. She had no idea I was building the counterstructure. That storage unit bothered me most. Why rent a whole unit when we had a massive, half-empty garage? I drove by once, just to see the chain-link fence. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. I just needed an expert opinion on the rot I was documenting. I called Victor, my old high school buddy, now a CPA. We met at his place. I spread the files out. Victor went through my documentation, making these little noises behind his glasses. 40 minutes in, he looked up. "Daniel," he said slowly, "she's either terrible at business, or she's hiding assets. Maybe both." He showed me the patterns, the expenses didn't match the revenue. The business was bleeding money, but she was spending like it was a gold mine. Then he dropped the hammer. "Look, Daniel. In a divorce, ownership isn't just about what you gain. It's about what you take on. If she claims the business, she claims all the debt, all the penalties." I just sat back. I knew what he meant. 3 weeks later, Melissa served the papers. Not dramatically, just at Sunday breakfast. Lily was upstairs, still asleep. Melissa's sister, Rachel, was sitting at our table like she was there for a corporate takeover. Melissa had her list, the house, both cars, the entire business, and half my pension. Then she delivered the kicker, "Lily can stay with you. I don't have time for a teenager right now." Rachel actually nodded approvingly. I just sat there, drinking my coffee. Then Lily walked in, still in her pajamas, having heard everything from the landing. She looked at her mom and said, quiet but clear, "Wow, Mom. Really feeling the love here." Melissa snapped at her to stop being dramatic. Lily didn't say another word. She just turned and went back upstairs. The door closed. That's when I knew this wasn't about money anymore. This was about protecting my daughter from being erased. I looked at Melissa. "Okay. You can have it. Rachel looked like she'd won the lottery. Melissa looked confused. She expected a fight. "You're serious?" she asked. "I'll have Henry draw up the papers," I said. Then I stood up and left the table. I went to work. That afternoon, I hired Henry Braddock, the guy who reads every single word like it's a ticking clock. By the end of the week, I signed a lease on a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Lily needed stability, and I needed clarity. The next day, I laid everything out for Henry: the marketplace listings, the 529 theft, the storage unit, Victor's analysis of the shoddy books. Henry looked grimly satisfied. "This is gold, Daniel. But we don't wave it around." His strategy was brilliant. We give her what she asks for, but we structure the agreement so she inherits the consequences. She gets the house, but she must refinance it in her name within 90 days, or it goes on the market. The $8,000 from Lily's fund comes right off her side of the assets. The business? Hers completely. All the debts, all the potential tax exposure from unreported income? All hers. Henry drafted the agreement. On the surface, it looked like she won everything. But hidden inside, incorporated by reference into the signature page, were 214 pages of exhibits, C-F financial disclosures, business documents, transaction histories. Henry told me most people, especially people in a hurry, never read the appendices. 2 weeks later, Melissa got aggressive. She filed an emergency motion claiming I was wasting marital assets. Said she'd bought a boat. I'd never seen a boat. Henry submitted bank statements showing no purchase. The judge dismissed it in 5 minutes. Then an anonymous complaint about bribes at my job landed on my boss's desk. It went nowhere, but it was designed to rattle me. Henry just said, "Keep logging it." Leverage. The mediation was in early June. Melissa came with her lawyer, Sophia Holt, who was known for being aggressive but maybe a little lazy. Rachel sat right behind Melissa, coaching her. Sophia was flipping through the settlement documents like they were a restaurant menu. Henry was silent beside me. The mediator went over the terms: she gets the house, the cars, the business. I keep my pension. I get full custody. The $8,000 offset. Rachel was leaning forward, whispering to Melissa that the pension was the real prize, but Melissa ignored her, focused on taking the physical assets. Sophia pointed to the signature page. Melissa initialed, signed, never glanced at the appendices. Henry cleared his throat. "Just confirming, Your Honor, Exhibits C-F are incorporated in full, all 214 pages." The mediator asked if both parties acknowledged receipt and review. I said yes. Melissa said yes. Sophia said yes. The final hearing was June 14th. When we left the courthouse after the agreement was finalized, Melissa gave me that smug little smile again. Rachel squeezed her shoulder. They thought they'd won the war. Henry just shook my hand and said, "She has no idea what she just signed." I sat in my truck for a minute, watching the sunlight hit the glass. Lily texted, "How'd it go?" I texted back, "Done." Melissa thought she was clever. She assumed I was too passive to see the rot she was creating. But she made one fatal flaw: she assumed I wouldn't inspect the fine print. When someone demands everything in a divorce, what are they really asking for? They aren't just asking for the assets. They are asking to own the consequences, too. Every hidden debt, every liability, every mistake they made. Melissa wanted control. What she got was accountability. Would you have done the same thing, or would you have fought for what was yours? The morning of the final hearing, I was up at 5:30. Lily came down around 6, already dressed. She asked if I was nervous. I told her I was ready for it to be over. She hugged me tight and said, "Dad, whatever happens today, I'm glad I'm here with you." We walked into that courtroom at 8:45. Henry looked ready. Melissa sat there radiating confidence, Rachel looming behind her like a very intense bodyguard. Judge Miller came in at 9. Old school. No tolerance for games. She confirmed the mediated terms. Melissa said, "Yes, Your Honor." I said, "Yes, Your Honor." Then Henry stood up. "Your Honor, for the record, the settlement agreement incorporates Exhibits C through F as attached, all 214 pages of financial disclosures." The courtroom got silent. The judge looked at Sophia Holt. "Counselor, did you review these exhibits with your client?" A simple yes or no. Sophia just froze. She looked down at her thin file like the answer was printed there. She stammered, "We reviewed the primary terms." The judge cut her off, her voice ice cold. "I asked a yes or no question." Sophia finally whispered, "Yes, Your Honor." The judge opened one of Henry's binders. She didn't even look at Melissa. She just started reading, detailing the $47,000 in outstanding business debt, the $6,000 in storage unit penalties, the correspondence from creditors, and the documents suggesting unreported income that would trigger an IRS inquiry. Melissa's face went bone white. Rachel looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. The judge looked at Melissa. "Mrs. Bowen, you agreed to take sole ownership of the business and all assets associated with it. That means you take all debts and all potential tax liabilities. Do you understand that now?" Melissa finally choked out, "You told me everything was fine," she hissed at Sophia. Sophia tried to backtrack. "We can file a motion to reconsider." Judge Miller cut her off again. "Based on what?" "Your client failed to read properly disclosed documents that you confirmed reviewing. This agreement is exactly what you asked for." Rachel actually stood up, yelling about entrapment. The judge ordered her seated or removed. Melissa finally looked at me, desperation in her eyes. "You knew. You knew all of this." I kept my voice level. "I disclosed everything. Melissa, it was in the appendices. You signed acknowledging receipt. You wanted sole ownership. You got it." Henry added the final confirmation about legality. Judge Miller closed the binder with a decisive thud. "The time to realize what you were signing was before you signed it. This dissolution is final. Adjourned." The gavel hit. They walked out. Melissa looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Rachel was already gone. In the hallway, Lily was waiting. I told her it was done. She asked how bad it was for her mom. I said, "Bad enough. But your college fund is whole again within 30 days. Lily threw her arms around me. "You absolute legend." Over the next 3 months, I watched it happen exactly as Henry predicted. She couldn't refinance the house, the business debt made her credit worthless. Henry filed the motion, the judge ordered the house sold. It sold fast, for less than she wanted, but after paying off the mortgage and the piles of business liens, there was nothing left. The storage unit was eventually opened due to a fire code complaint, more penalties. The business collapsed under the weight of its own debt and the impending IRS audit. Melissa moved in with Rachel. They lasted a month before the fighting started. Lily stayed with me in the apartment. She made the honor roll that semester. We started having Saturday movie nights again. She seemed lighter, relieved. One night, she asked if I felt bad about her mom losing everything. I told her I felt bad it came to this, but I didn't feel bad for protecting her and making sure her mother faced the consequences of her choices. Lily nodded. "Good. Because neither do I. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let people have exactly what they asked for, especially when they think they know better." Melissa wanted ownership. She got ownership of the rubble. You can paint over rot, but it doesn't go away. Eventually, every structure gets inspected. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments.